Well, I took a job with the Omak School District in 1974. I commuted back and forth, back from Kent to Omak weekends. Carol was left to keep the house clean and ready to sell while riding shotgun with 3 boys and a girl and our daughter Elisa. I guess she's a girl, yeah. But anyway, sometimes, all right. In answer to many prayers, a couple saw our homemade sign at the end of the road and said, "We'll take it." I asked for earnest money, to which they replied, "What's earnest money?" And I carefully explained to him what earnest money meant. His wife looked and said, "Honey, there's always your belt." We feared the worst. Not to fear. He had a money belt around his waist with $25,000 and $1,000 bills in the money belt. Houses were extremely scarce in Omak in 1974. I found a 10-acre farm after a 3-month search. I proudly called Carol and said, "I found a house." She asked me to describe it. I replied, "It's got a black, long shag carpet in the living room and down the hall." There was a deadly silence on the other end. Finally, she said, "Tell me about the rest." I continued, "It has a bright orange Formica countertops and dark blonde walnut cabinets in the kitchen. The family room has a long shag multicolored orange carpet." Again, there was silence. This actually came in handy. When the kids ate spaghetti at the breakfast party, if they spilled on the carpet, it just disappeared. The other thing I remember, Carol showed her tender side. We had a milk cow. My first milk cow we had was called Angel, which was a misnomer. Angel was a mean, mean animal. We butchered her, and I enjoyed every bite. Take it, Angel, take that one. Anyway, this ties you in. What we ended up doing, the first calf we born, we had what's called distended tendons, where the legs bend back and bend like this. The vet told us, "I don't think this calf is going to live. Why don't you, you probably just ought to just take care of it now. I don't think it's going to make it." I can remember Carol going off. I'd milk the cow, put it in a bottle with a huge nipple on it. Carol would be out there. She'd be feeding that calf in the calf pen and massaging those joints. She got that calf to be able to do it. Well, the bad thing about living on a farm, you name your animals. Now, it's sometimes not too bad if you got an aunt or an uncle you don't like. But anyway, there was, on that thing, I remember her massaging that animal. Well, the first year, what we did, we could not afford, we did not feel good about eating that calf, so we traded animals with the neighbor. And they ate ours, and we ate theirs. After our youngest was in kindergarten, Elisa, Carol went back to work as a substitute teacher. The next year, she was asked to be a math specialist for the district. Carol then started the first gifted education program in the state of Washington. As a result, what they ended up doing, this new program, she was asked to serve on the gifted education committee for the state. Well, and then they asked, because she was on that one, she asked her to be an advisor to the gifted education programs, the gifted and talented committees for Washington, Oregon, and California. Additional job assignments were added, such as curriculum director, federal project coordinator, special ed director, and Indian education coordinator. This required several trips to Spokane for meetings. In order to get from Omak to Spokane, you have to travel Highway 155 across the Colville Indian Reservation. I was called out of a meeting of administrators to talk to a state highway patrolman who said Carol was involved in an accident on Disatel Pass, crossing the reservation. This is open range country, and the cattle are often on the roadway. She wasn't hurt, but her beloved Mazda GLC was totaled. She couldn't miss hitting all the animals, so she picked the small 700-pound cow on the right. The range bull, she said, on the left was twice as big. The animal took out the windshield, crushed the top, and left Carol with a lap full of glass. A young Colville Indian couple were kind enough to give her a ride into Omak. Carol went on to get it, like it was said before by Jeff. What she did was to commute back and forth. First to Ellensburg, where you're looking at over 300 miles one way. She commuted back and forth. And one of the ladies here, Betty McKee, was an elementary principal. They roomed together in about a 24-foot travel trailer down there on campus, came home weekends. After that, with Carol she went ahead and worked on her superintendent's credential. That round trip to Pullman and Wazoo was about 475 miles round trip. Our next move was to Rosalia, Washington, which was just south of Spokane, in the Palouse Hills. And she was there to serve as a superintendent, like Jeff was saying. While we lived in Rosalia, 5 of our family members, plus a friend of Dana's, worked in the grain harvest. Okay, 4 years later, Carol applied for the superintendent's job in the Lake Chelan School District. And this is the only place that I know of in this state where Carol's name is chiseled in stone. It's on the public building. When you go over the east, you go east over the Chelan River on the new bridge on the right-hand side. It's the middle school, high school complex for me. At the same time Carol served as superintendent in the Lake Chelan School District, Margaret Thatcher was Prime Minister of England. The nickname for Margaret Thatcher was the Iron Lady. During teacher salary negotiations, the head negotiator of the Chelan Education Association affectionately gave Carol the name the Iron Lady. After retirement, she worked, like was said, for the Commission on Student Learning. A lot of statewide meetings. Okay, now comes the part that Carol had both hips replaced. Soon after the second one was replaced, they discovered a staph infection she picked up at the hospital. They removed her prosthesis. The hip joint was removed, and for 6 weeks, Carol was without a hip joint at all, just using crutches. She continued to go in and work for the state of Washington. By use of the kitchen stool, she'd go to the teachers' meeting, sit with her haunches on this kitchen stool, and perform these, lecture the teachers, or presenting, I shouldn't say lecture, presented to teachers and administrators on that one. Okay, one thing I could say that as a master gardener, as Carol has learned when to gently nurture a plant or a tree and when to do major pruning. Here was a lady who could be involved in quilting, poetry, cooking, decorating 1 minute, and the next minute making the hard decisions required of an administrator. Carol has passed on her organizational skills and drive to our children. She was still working on her husband and has, contrary to what Ed Asner had to say on the Mary Tyler Moore Show, I believe God loves a person with spunk. We send you our Carol.
Don said the applause is because he's done. We can all be thankful, Don, that you went into education, that you didn't become a pastor.